Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Tim. Well, he's not doing too bad. He's currently in third place, so well up the order for an S2 driver. So again, having a rather good qualifying session. We just hopefully he does well in the qualifying and he manages to get around the first lap. Because if we have watched Mid-Ohio race, he spun out in turn number 2, so not the ideal start for Joshua, but I'm pretty sure he's learned from that mistake, and hopefully he can rectify it here at what is a very tricky summit point. So everybody on iRacing will know this track. It is one of the tracks that we all used to run in our MX-5s, and a very tricky mid part of the track, round turn numbers 4, and then coming into the very tricky infield or the outfield bit, 5, 6, 7 and 8, which we're pretty sure that we're going to see quite a few spins around that part of the track, Tim.
Well, I think we are. We've also got Antonio Race coming into this round. Currently, he's won the last 4 rounds on the bounce in Masters. However, let's take a look at the championship standings and just get accustomed with those, where we are, this latter stages of the season. Jason Green leads Spec 1. Well, not so commanding due to taking part in 7 out of 7 so far on 474. But Ferenc Arabian, he's not far behind them and taking part in only 5 rounds. And likewise, Overstreet still in with a shout as well. She lies third. There's Thomas Renders, Simon Ball, Eric Ronenberg, De Gassis, Jacobson, Mayer, and Leandro Piero running out the top 10 there. I'll tell you what, some very close positions, definitely inside that top 10. Across into Spec 2, Tom Laurie dominates this one by 55 points over Roland Wallbank in second. He's got 38 points behind him, Gary Wallbolt, and that's where it starts to get really, really tight. 8 points behind Wallbolt in fourth is Coffey. Pentakainen is only 1 point behind in fifth. Andrew Bennett now cutting adrift. He's on 217, not going to really make up that one. But Montgomery, Montavini, Griffin all still within a shot of that spot. Kaj Hansen running out your top 10 there. Across into Masters category, and well, it's going to be no surprise. I alluded to it earlier. Antonio Race comes into this round having won the previous 4 rounds, stretching back from Phillip Island to Okayama, Alton, and of course last week at Mid-Ohio. Jörg Marni still in there despite that large winning streak from Race, where it's been just Mr. Consistency chipping away. He lies in second. Stevie Ray's on for an all-time highest finish in the championship, I do believe, in third. He can hold on to that one. 50-odd points behind him is Murakami Jim Brewster. For a couple of second place, well, 3 podiums to his name. He lies in fifth. There are Bradshaw, Ref Cantor, Love Nelson. Andrew Love, who's a previous race winner, having won at Road Atlanta, lies in 10th. And that's not a bad one. Only taking part in 2 rounds and a 50% win ratio. Charles Vaccaro going to round out the standings there. But as I mentioned, we've got qualifying underway. And it's a Brazilian on pole. The former Yaltabino, there he is. And a good company as well, Andy, because 2 Brazilians inside the top 3.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we see Antonio Reis taking up his usual position in P2 at the moment, well ahead of Jörg Marni in P9th, with Stevie Ray there in 10th. So the 3 main protagonists in the Masters pretty much line astern, although Antonio Reis is well ahead of Jörg Marni in 9th place. But it's all about positioning on this track, because if we look at the track layout from turn number 9, it's really a flat-out sprint race all the way down into turn 1. So we saw it in Mid-Ohio, the effect of the slipstream and how much fuel you can save. I think it was a masterclass from Antonio Reis. You know, we saw him there literally just stuck behind, I think it was Jörg Marni and Megan Street for the whole entire of around about 28, 30 minutes. Able to just save the fuel, come in after about 2 or 3 laps afterwards, and then basically take the win. So this is another similar track to Mid-Ohio with that extremely long, you wouldn't normally say it was a long, but in these smaller cars, it's pretty much flat out from turn number 9 all the way down into turn number 1. So we could see sort of the same effect again, I think, into tonight's race. But it's going to be a really good setup, a really good track for these cars as well to really get your teeth into. So I'm expecting some fast and frenetic racing throughout the 40-minute race we've got coming up.
Do you think it's going to be quite similar to Okayama? Of course, we visited there 3 rounds ago. the back straight, similar to the front straight here at Summit Point, especially turn 1, very similar to the hairpin that you've got at Okayama. That in lots of tight technical pits. Do you think it's going to be quite a sort of a similar result? Drivers who ran there well are going to fare quite well this evening.
So, I mean, I think this has got more of a longer straight than Okayama. Okayama's got long straights, but followed by really, really tight turns. I mean, the back straight comes to mind where you come down right down the end, and then you've got the hairpin right at the end. But on this track, you've got, like I say, turn number 9 coming out of there, coming all the way down the back end of the course, coming down the start-finish line, and then you've got the tight turn 1, very, good similarities there between the turn number 1 and the Okayama here, and then basically they get back onto the power all the way down into the tight section into turn number 5, and I think that's where a lot of these races is going to be won or lost within the classes, is that very tricky turn number 5. It can catch so many people out, certainly if you're firing out, and we'll join on board here with Stevie Ray around a lap of this Summit Point, and this is the start finish straight that I was on about, coming down into turn number 1. It's literally heavy on the brakes, and then the corner really opens up coming through turn number 2, back onto the power, and then moving the car onto the right hand side of the track to open up turn number 3. In these cars, pretty much flat out again through this turn number 3, literally clipping the corner on the inside. Steve did it slightly wrong there, and getting pushed out onto the exit of turn 3, and then coming down into the tricky part of the section through turn 4, flat out, but then you've got to really be on the brakes quite hard into turn number 5. Now this is an optimal place for lunges up the inside, but then you're coming down into what I think is a single file, but there will be optimistic drivers that try to put their nose up on the inside, and we could see quite a few of the cars coming off around this part of the section, coming out of the complex here into turn number 8 through turn number 9, and this is what I'm on about, flat out now all the way, but oh, Stevie just loses it, getting on the power a little bit too early there. But yeah, coming out of that corner back through turn number 10 is going to be the same, literally onto the left hand side of the track, cutting across to the right, and then firing yourself over to the left down the start finish straight. So it's going to be a war of slipstreams coming down there, because if you're behind a car coming out of turn number 9, you're in a really good position to overtake them coming down the start finish straight. And it's going to be interesting to see during the race as well, Tim, to see how powerful that slipstream effect is, because if there is, coming down to the last lap and the second car coming out of turn 9 is close enough to the leader, it would be interesting to see if he'll be able to pass him by the start finish line of that lap. So it's going to be an intriguing one, pretty much a story of two halves, like pretty much most of the tracks on iRacing. You got the flat out open sections of the track with the tight technical bit around that turn number 5, so it's going to be a really interesting race.
Oh, good news for yourself, Andy, and also your Gmani fans. I know I can tell from your voice, a little bit worried. He's languishing down in 9th place, but he has moved up onto the front row, 2nd place for the Masters driver. Overstreet's promoted herself up into 3rd. Those sort of big hitters that you come to know and love in this series, moving up through the grids in these last stages of qualifying, and nearly saved it. I didn't know you could go beyond that concrete barrier. I do now.
That was a good little bit of off-track driving there.
It was, and it just shows you can get behind that concrete wall. Didn't know that one. Didn't know that one. So, it says the Spec 2, Josh Soto still leads that one. However, he has got right behind him Michael McConnell, who's moved himself up to 7th, 2nd in class. Just Bedini touching the notorious iRacing slippery as ice grass and heading off there. He's not going to be able to get back out again, set another lap as the drivers who can get across the line before the timer runs out will get another lap in as someone else taking a bit of an excursion there out onto the grass. There is Josh Soto, your leader in Spec 2 in terms of qualifying. Just having a bit of a look through, there's no one really out of place, is there? Everyone's really, where they should be. So that's going to be interesting for me, Andy, see how they work together under racing conditions. There you go, checkered flag is out, so those drivers come across the line. Will that be their final lap from now onwards?
What's interesting is now as Joshua Soto is not. We saw him at the front of the grid. He probably got under a little bit of pressure out in mid Ohio. He's now at the front of Spec 2, but round about sixth place overall in the grid. So probably more of a position he's used to being in. So hopefully he'll be able to keep that position in the front of S2, but not feel under pressure about leading the race. So I'm expecting big things from Josh.
Same here. So we've got qualifying just rounding out. I don't think there's anyone looking like they're improving laps at all. So we wait for the timer to click down right now before we head off into 40 minutes of racing coming up for you here on the channel. And of course, about 40 minutes after this race has finished, we head off for the SRFs and action, big grids, excitement and drama. They will be. That is for sure as part of the doubleheader for Weekend Warriors here on Super Sunday on Apex Racing TV. And they're heading to Charlotte. Should be another on the Roval there. Another track that's a little bit tight technical and brings about its challenges. However, yeah, there's big expanses of fields to head off into, whereas there it's predominantly up against walls. So make sure you tune in for that one because quite a few of the drivers who've got taking part in the Formula 4 tonight will be appearing in that one as well. So we've got about 12 seconds left of qualifying before you bring up your grid, as there's definitely nobody improved. Looking like we've definitely done and dusted there, as that just clicks away now, and then we'll be heading across into race. And it transitions any second. There we go. Now, as the drivers in distance just disappear off the screen. And here we go. So it flicks across. Here's your grid. Jadbino on pole with Jorg Marnie joining him on the front row. Then it's another Spec 1 and Masters row in the form of Megan Overstreet and Antonio Race. Leonardo Piero, he alongside top qualifier in Spec 2, Josh Soto. Michael McConnell, he's got Jason Green for company on row 4 with row 5 in your top 10. First All-American race, Alan DeGassis and Stevie Ray. They've got Jim Brewster and Tom Laurie taking up row 6. Row 7, that is Chris Montgomery and Marco Trespedini. Good to see him back, and we haven't seen too much of in recent times. Benjamin Harris has got Mornay Human for company, the South African. Great to see him on his debut in the championship. Then we got Sander Verbruge and Philip Fernandez on row 9 and row 10, and the top 10 team being ran out by Tim Steno and Arthur Lodorio. Jeff Jacobson is Gary Walbot for company on row 11, with row 12 being Adam Bradshaw and a previous race winner, Andrew Love, starting near the back there. On the final, complete row, it's Trent Kramer and Bruno Conte and Ken Poulin. Didn't set a time in qualifying. Not sure if he's going to take to the grid or not. We'll find out shortly. If he does, he will start 27th and all by himself, as all the drivers lining up behind the Porsche 911 safety car there. So I've never mentioned to our sponsors for this series. First off, we've got PDA, or Precision Driving Analytics, to give them by their full and proper name. Now, Ray Phillips, who owns them, has over 30 years of experience in motorsports and raced both open wheelers for most of his life. 20 years of that, in fact. He's now found a passion in helping others go faster and perfect their craft. He can fill the role of race engineer, also as a driver coach, while helping drivers get the most out of data and video systems. Now, Ray was a data engineer and driver coach for a 2019 championship winning Ferrari Challenge team, assisting all the drivers and team members on that successful outing for them. Now, PDA also sells a wide range of data and video equipment that can help everyone from high-performance driver education drivers to professional drivers, or even a race team with multiple cars. No matter what you choose, customers get the information they need to go faster and have a good time on track. Now, PDA not only helps real-world racers, but also sim racers too, and allowing them to go faster while staying within their limits. Give them a shout and see what they are about over at PrecisionDrivingAnalytics.com. And then we've also got a newer sponsor to this series in the form of Arrive Drive Motorsports. Now, welcome to your ultimate racing experience. Arrive Drive Motorsports is a full-service road racing prep shop specializing in Formula and sports races. Now offering full Arrive Drive services in F1600, F2000, F1000, and S5000, or even your own car. Are you ready to take your driver development to the next level? Well, with everything from F1600s to V8 open wheel monsters, Arrive Drive will maximize your potential and accelerate your development with up to 100 races per year in up to 6 different race cars. Are you ready? Well, if you are, you need to head across to arrivedrivemotorsports.com. It's just on their formation lap right now, heading out around the back of the circuit, and well, just already, Andy, backing up the pack a little bit is Yatabino.
Definitely is. Just getting them all tightly packed, which could cause a little bit of an issue coming down into turn number 1. You can see the distance between the safety car at the moment, so really going to try and get a slingshot out of the last corner down the start finish straight. But I wonder if Arrive Drive basically does the 2.5 turbo diesel with a Discovery 2, because I wouldn't mind that getting tuned a little bit. So that'll be a challenge for them to tune my little beast.
Yes, definitely something I'm sure they're not normally used to, but they're definitely giving it a go. But as we head out around the final corner, let's get ready to go racing from Summit Point for the first time this evening. As we are green, we are go. And Tamino didn't quite get the jump that maybe he was hoping for. Everyone's come along for the ride as they all spread out across the track. 2 lines in those 2 lanes down into turn 1. And Marnie having a big blink and reappears, and we're all still side by side, but Marnie's around, he's touched the grass, he's on the outside, and he's going to ascend all the way from the front row and second place right to the back of the pack as they all still scramble and scrap away. But that's allowed Tabino to already open up a big gap. That's what Overstreet could do to respond.
Yeah, definitely was. Marnie literally just got onto the outside. A little bit of argy-bargy with Spino there coming into the first corner. Got himself out wide and hit, like you said, the dreaded dirty patch on the outside and spun his car around. So from a second place fighting for first, finds himself down in 23rd position. But that has promoted Megan Overstreet again into second. Like you said, nearly a second behind. So although not getting a good slingshot out of the last corner, after that incident with Marnie around the first corner, has managed to get a little bit of a gap. As we see Stevie Ray coming off round turn number 9 and losing the car there into the wall and going back to the pits. And the treachery of the first lap with the tyres, certainly with these cars, they do like to slide out round corners, and unfortunately slid a little bit too far there, Stevie. Round turn number 9 came off, and I'm pretty sure he did that in qualifying as well.
It's carbon copy, wasn't it? Overstreet under a lot of threat for this second place right now, as here comes Josh Soto up the inside line from 6th on the grid to the start of the second lap into second. And yeah, Sabino says, thank you very much. You lot scrap over second as he clears off into the distance. 1.5 seconds after 1 tour of this track. And Overstreet, what has she got to respond to this one? It's going to be interesting. Green, he's making moves from 8th. He's up into 6th place. Chris Montgomery's had a good start of 4 places. Not as good as Trenton Craven, though, from 25th, the last complete row of the grid. Up into 15th already. It's only been 1 lap, Trenton. Well, in fact, mate, that 14th, he's just had another one. I think L'Oreal's just had a bit of a incident. He's dropping a few places. So has Bradshaw, too. But yeah, they're looking very, very slow. Certainly it's the Iberian there, you see, Arthur Lorerio. But Lorerio, even apologies, putting a random T into his name there. But he's back to where he started after a strong start, unfortunately for him. Well, let's take a look at a replay here. So this is what happened to Marnie, Andy, isn't it? And, well, just ran in deep, had that big blink, which I'm sure would have unsettled everyone behind him, but ran it out wide and touched the grass, but only by half a tyre's width, if that.
That's all it takes, though, isn't it? That's all it takes in these cars. Certainly on the first lap with the tyres being super cold. Luckily, he didn't involve anybody else involved. And let's have a look at Stevie Ray's incident. Carbon copy of what he did in the qualifying. Coming around here out of the outer section, coming around turn number 9. Literally just hits the car onto the curb, goes into the wall, literally a carbon copy and back to the pits. He is back out on track, but he's a lap down at the moment. So it's going to be a long 40 minutes for Stevie.
That's one of the treacherous things about Summit Point, isn't it? Because you've got this banking around the edge of the circuit, but if you do go up and onto it, it just automatically resets you to the pits. And other tracks you may bounce off the wall. I mean, I don't know if it's better if bouncing off the wall and wrecking your car, or having to jump straight to the pits, being forced to do so. It's a bit of a tricky one. Tabino, he sailed off at 2.3 seconds already. That's a lot. But at the start of this lap, he was 1.5 seconds. So he's pulled 8, 9 tenths on everyone behind him. I mean, last time around, he was 3 tenths quicker than everyone else. Well, 1:16.9. We'll see when he crosses the line this time. Well, 1:16.5. There's only a couple of 2 or 3 other drivers who are in the 1:16s, but they're still 1:16.9, so they're 4 tenths slower than Tabino. Wow, he's definitely ripping up some trees right now and laying down that early pace and throwing down the gauntlet to everyone, which nobody's even able to hold a candle to him.
No, it's definitely not. But he's in the fortunate position out on his own. You can see there from Joshua Soto, who's had a cracking start to this race here in second place. You've got Overstreet, Reese, Panero, Green, literally all covered by a second. So, you know, they're squabbling over each other to try and gain the positions. And we see Joshua Soto getting it slightly wrong there, coming around turn number 5. Is he going to lose a place? Yes, he does. And that is the treachery of turn at number 5. That is a really tricky corner. You really got to get the car dialed in early, literally coming off turn number 4 into the position. Otherwise, you see exactly what happened there to Josh, was that he basically got pushed out wide round turn number 5, scrubbing a lot of speed and letting Megan through. But these 5 drivers are squabbling over each other, and obviously given the opportunity here to Zhao in front, he's 3 seconds ahead, and you can just see the lines that these drivers are taking. They are not the usual lines, as we nearly go 3 abreast coming into turn number 1. As we look at Antonio Reese, just going to try and get 2 for 1 here, gets past Soto and Megan Overstreet there to take second place. And is he going to be able to now put a charge in to try and catch Zhao? But 3.1 seconds, that is a monster gap after only 5 minutes of this race gone.
Tom Laurie's had a bit of an incident. He's dropped down through the field after coming off track. Shame for him, and he's headed to the pits too, so clearly he must have made a bit of contact with all, bit of damage incurred there. It's all we've got to replay, and there we go. We're going to find out exactly how he did it on the 260 machine. There he is at the front of this little group, and oh, big twitch, big moment. That's going to be into the wall. There it is. Wow. I'm guessing that he's probably jumped straight to the pits after that. Shame for him, as he was running relatively well. I mean, Andy, you asked what Antonio Reis could do. In answer to that, he's just about keeping pace with Tabino, but not making any impression on him. Well, having said that, he's just taking about half a tenth out of him right now as we look at it. There's Trenton Kramer. Now he's climbed to 13th, up 12. And more crucially for him, there's a real gaggle in front of him in the form of Montgomery, Trespidini, Harris, and Sander Verbruge, who's just in front of us. We're on board with Kramer. Just backing out of it, just observing his options right now. There's a battle going on in front of him. Harris now making his way past Montgomery. He's shot 2 places after Trespidini got past him too. And they're still having a good go at this.
Certainly are. Kramer just at the back, just watching, praying that something happens in front of him to gain him a couple more places. Already up 12 places. We were on board with Sunday Verbrugge here, coming down into turn number 5. You can just see the lines, you can see the cars in front sliding out wide, just trying to cover off any sort of move, and this gives the opportunity for the cars in front, and this is exactly what's happened out in front as well, is that because they're battling so hard between them, the gap for the car in front, who's well away, just is able to extend, because you can see in the timing tower there, we've got sort of like 2 pockets, the front group, and then the second group with a couple of cars from McConnell, Brewster and Trespidini sort of on their own at the moment. But then you got Harris, Montgomery, Verbruge, Kramer, Warbolt is trying to get onto the back of this group with Marnie as well. I mean, Marnie's made a great recovery from where he was. If you remember at the start of the race, he was second place, spun out round turn number 1, completely the back of the grid. He has made his way up to P15th, does have Warbolt, and he's, as we say, just overtaken him for P14th. Then got a second gap up to the Kramer, Verbruge, Montgomery, Harris battle. So he's making really good progress, considering he spun out round turn number 2 and was dead last.
It's York Marnie, isn't it? He's ripping up some trees. The good thing is, he's, well, pretty much matching. Actually, he's going faster than Tabino. So if he hadn't have had that early issue, I think him and Tamino would have just cleared off into the distance. So you have to wonder, because equally Overstreet, who was holding on to that third place as it was at the time, may well have been able to remain in the tow and keep with them. It really broke them up. But Marnie's now presented with Kramer, Verfuge, Montgomery, Trespedini all in front of him. He's caught right up onto this gaggle that we're watching on this time last lap. And what shapes is he going to be able to pull off here as well? You see Kramer just having a bit of a look there. That's going to get him past Sander Brew, surely into turn one. Marnie, no space right now. And this is frustrating because he knows he's full well he's so much faster than these guys, but needs to be patient and bide his time while they battle out themselves.
That was extremely close between Verbrues and Kramer there coming around turn number 2. But yeah, I mean, look how quickly he closed that gap down. He was a second behind them. Now he is right on them, trying to get his way back. Oh, nearly came a little bit of a cropper there with Verbrues and going slightly offline there, Marnie, losing a little bit of ground to this group, but certainly has got the speed and the pace. So I'd expect him to, during the course of this race, to try and get to the front of this group. But I think probably there is where he'll lie in P10th, because Harris, you can see in P9th, currently 3.5 seconds ahead of Trespedini in 10th, so or Brewster in 8th. So it's going to be a hard day at the office after this. But let's have a look at what happened to Gary Warbolt here, coming out into turn number 3. Does he get his wheel slightly onto the gravel? Not slightly, he gets well onto the gravel, but manages to save it quite well. So you can get all the thingy. Let's have a look at him round turn number 4, coming into the treacherous turn 5. That's got to be hardware failure. Surely that's a very unusual entry into turn number 5.
Yes, and he's gone straight to the pits. So I think you've got to be right there in your synopsis, and he definitely, indeed. Sabine still pulling away at the front of the field, but this battle for second still looming large, although Jason Green just dropping off the tail end a tiny bit right now. As Overstreet leads from race, from Soto, Panero, Green. It's having a bit of a look in the background here. McConnell is a little bit far down. Actually, no, he's still putting a shot 1.5 seconds on it. As meanwhile, Jorg starts to pick off this group. So Kramer ahead of Verbruge. But how quickly can he dispatch Sander Verbruge, who's locked in a battle for an in-class battle? Surely this is going to be sign up for Verbruge, get the move done, down into turn 1, get on the road where there's a bit of a gap emerged after Kramer, and try. Well, there we go.
Easy pass.
Easier, yeah. That was a lot more easier than we thought it was going to be.
I don't know if that was a defensive move there from Bruges, but I don't think it paid off very well for him. It's literally that last corner seems to be quite treacherous as well. Let's have a look at what happened here. So even before the corner, he sort of, as soon as he turned in there, he starts to slide and just slides out of the corner. So the tyres completely gave up on the car there, and luckily Jorg was able to pass him, and a nice easy pass for him, and now he's looking at the back end of Kramer to see if he can make an opportunity to get through this gaggle of cars.
So Adam Bradshaw just taking to the grass there to let everyone through. On board with Marnie. This is a frustrating point, isn't it? Because when you know that you're so much quicker than everyone in front of you, you're able to carry so much more speed through the corners, but you need to be patient. You need to bide your time. As next in line for Marnie is Montgomery. And whether he can pick him off in the run into turn 1, we'll have to see. Just he's opened about a 7/10 gap to Montgomery, so there'll be no 2-for-1 deals down into turn 1, but here comes Marnie to wait, watch for him to pull out. Here we go, and charge his way through on the recovery drive. That's back to 11th overall. Still third in class, amazingly. Race and Brewster are first and second, respectively, third and 8th overall for those two. And in fact, it's actually the top threes are, other than Spec 1, are relatively spread out right now, with Spec 2 being led by Soto, Michael McConnell second. Oh, no. There he goes.
literally lost that going into the corner there. I wonder if he has got a little bit of damage there. We saw a car just tag his back end. Let's have a look at what happened. Literally pushing for all he's worth here. I think he's looking at trying to get to Brewster, so trying to make work there. I think he just hit into the back end of the car in front. I think he might have got away with it. I think it might have been a bit of neck code there that pushed him around, but finds himself back down in 15th behind Love.
Very early on, Antonio race into the pits. 14 minutes out of the 40 complete. The massive undercut hasn't tended to work so much, but clearly the Portuguese driver going to give it a go here. Nothing to lose in terms of in class, as he was quite a distance ahead of Brewster. He's still stationary in the pits. He's falling right down through the order. Having said that, yeah, he's stationary a bit more longer than I maybe would have expected him to be. No, they go heading out now. 22-second stop. Will come out 4th in class, 18th overall. Meanwhile, Yatabino has broken the 5-second mark. He's, well, walking away with this one unchallenged whatsoever since turn 1, lap 1. However, the battle for the best of the rest still going on. Green has dropped off. So is McConnell. That's a three-way fight. Antonio Race has pitted between Overstreet, Soto, and Pinheiro. All in the mix here at Summit Point.
I mean, it might be that Antonio Reese might have feeling that he was a bit quicker than the battle that he was in with Overstreet, Soto, and Pinheiro. So maybe he decided to pit slightly earlier, because you can see now he does have a little bit of free air. He's got around about 7 seconds to Conti in 17th place. So he's probably able to get a little bit more hammer down on the car to try and improve the lap times. It's going to be interesting to see his next couple of lap times compared to Megan Overstreet, to see where he goes. But it's going to be interesting as we see Marco Trespedini just coming down, passing Montgomery into turn number 1, getting the move done, and up a position, but not up a place in his class. Currently in P7, still has McConnell, so Montgomery is still 3rd in that S2 race.
As there's Sander Baruch getting a move done on Trenton Kramer, reclaiming that 12th place. In fact, Kramer lost a few spots there, a bit of time. That's what it feels like to me anyway. Oh, that's certainly not happening. Excursion through the gravel trap there for Bruges. He's having a bit of a... I'm having a bit of a look and I can't see that he's had even an incident or come off track. No. So, but Kramer's definitely lost time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Because...
he was in the battle with Bruges anyway when we were watching Marnie. Marnie has gone into the pits, decided to pit early again, but it's gonna be interesting. Let's have a look and see what happens to Jorg Marnie, as he had another incident coming around turn number 3. Yes, he has again. Just pushing it. I think that's the problem, isn't it, Tim? Once you realise that you're so quick, you have an early spin in a race, you're trying to push yourself to the absolute limits, and you're more prone to having mistakes. And we normally see Jorg Marnie, Mr. Cool, Calm and Collective, and he's already had 2 incidents, and that one was a big one that obviously had to tow back to the pit. So he'll be fighting out for the lower positions. But I'm just looking at the Masters class in the standings, and the highest one is in P10th, which is Andrew Love. So they're all relatively close together. So the Masters are struggling around here at Summit Point.
Well, it's deceptive. Funnily enough, I was just looking at that one. So Race and Brewster have both pitted, which is why they appear 15th and 16th respectively, although there's some, 13 seconds between Race and Brewster. So they're their line astern in terms of the standings. A big gulf between them in terms of track space. I do wonder if Antonio Race was seeing that lap times that Jorg Marnie was setting, where we saw him coming through the field early on, and maybe that's just influenced his decision to pit early here. Getting some, like you said at the time, Andy, getting some fresh air. He's coming into a lovely pocket by himself and then really go for it, hell for leather As that's Bruno Conti in front of him. He's going to drift out wide. That's going to be an easy place game for race. Chris Montgomery into the pits. Retirements looking like Marnie has retired now. We lost Bradshaw on lap 10. Walbot on lap 7. Laurier on lap 2. Jacobson on the opening lap. And then Poulin and Human did not make the race start.
Just having a look at his lap times. His last lap time was a 16.6. The one he's just done there is a 116.5. So the top drivers at the moment, Megan Overstreet doing a 116.28, but then you've got Josh Otto, Pinero doing like 116.7 and 117 dead. So certainly quicker than P3 and P4 is Antonio Rees. But Megan Overstreet is probably realizing what Antonio is trying to do, and basically starting to put down the hammer herself. I mean, it's completely nowhere near the pace of João Pinto in first place. I mean, his last lap was a 1:15.98, so around about half a second faster than the rest of the field, and that's sort of relaying in the lead that he currently has, 6.3 seconds. But the good thing now for Megan is that she has broken away from Joshua Soto in third place, so is able to basically try and close down or cement the second place, because I think to try and close down João is going to be an extremely tall order. You saw there the graphic, and João literally every single lap just extending that lead over Megan Overstreet. But this is a good solid race for Megan. You know, started in third place, up one position to P2, and has now sort of cemented that by nearly 2 seconds over Joshua Soto in third place.
In fact, last time around, to expand on that, Andy, Tabino a 15.98, first driver into the 1 minute 15s. Overstreet a 16.49. In fact, faster again goes Tabino as he crossed the line. Another new fastest lap of the race, goes half a tenth faster than he did on the previous tour. And yeah, Overstreet again 4 tenths, actually nearly a half a second slower. Tabino's got this one absolutely wrapped up. Looking like a truly unstoppable force. As they come across the line, we're going to keep half an eye out for you, Andy, on in terms of Antonio Race, because he is starting to go faster. And I do wonder, I had a bit of a look while you were talking at the track temperatures, and 43 degrees Celsius, which is what, around about 89 Fahrenheit of freedom units, as I know many of our fellow racers and compatriots over in the States like to call them. So I think maybe it's a little bit now. Drivers start to struggle with those tyre temperatures, and not able. It's those that have, you know, been able to keep those tyre temperatures in check so far that are going to rise to be the cream at the top at this stage of the race. And equally, maybe that's another decision that's maybe influenced from that early start for Antonio Race. Although no tyres taken from him, just purely fuel. As Soto visits pit road on the just shy the 22-minute mark, just over half race distance for him. So yes, but the only trouble for Race is he's got himself into a bit of a pocket again of space. He has just cleared Andrew Love, which is why he had a slower previous lap. But we're going to see now with Soto in the pits, where his Race going to come out in amongst him, and has that big undercut worked?
Join him here coming through the final turn number 10.
No,
it hasn't. It certainly hasn't, and the lead has been extended. So Antonio Rees's undercut has certainly not worked. Pretty much like you said, is that the undercut doesn't seem to have worked this season. And again, Antonio Rees has lost out big time to Joshua, who comes out well ahead of him in this race. So even though he was faster, he must have been held up by one of the back markers when he was trying to get through the field. But certainly lost a lot of time there, and you can sort of see in the standings, literally near 3.5 seconds. And he was actually in front of Joshua Soto, so you can see how much time he's lost from that early pit stop in the race. So he's really going to have to put the pedal to the metal to try and close that gap down to get that position back. Obviously, completely different class are the two drivers. Soto is the S2 and Antonio Rees is the Masters, currently leading the way in the Masters. So from a points in the class, Antonio is doing an exceptional job, but I'm pretty sure the driver in the car wants to do a lot better and be at the front end of this grid, but certainly will be there after the round of the pit stops, because there's still the top 5 drivers all have not pitted. You see Michael Jaspadini there, Sander Verrouge going into the pit, so we'll be getting back up to the front end of the grid, but yeah, not really where he probably wanted to be, and maybe that early stop again is not been ideal in this round, and I'm not sure why it's not. The only thing I can think of, Tim, is that they get caught by a back marker that's a lot considerably slower than they are, and they have that one bad lap that really puts pay to the front runners that are running quick constantly lap after lap.
Yeah, I think it's got to be that, hasn't it? Realistically, and well, it's cost him. Just having a look, doing the mental maths now, 7. Well, in fact, I think Race is maybe feeling a little bit held up. There's that gap between himself and Soto grows even further. But Jason Green has caught up onto the back of Leandro Pinheiro, having fallen back by about 1.5 seconds. So definitely the ebbs and the flows of this race being played out right now. Those high track temperatures playing their part of who's looked after them, who's able to push and maybe go for a bit more, who's got to go, you know, for a bit more conservative lap or two, just to bring those tire temperatures back into check, to have a bit more grip available to them before they can start pushing once again. But well, talking of being able to manage those tires and manage this race, Chipino, 8 seconds now, Andy. 8 seconds after 25 minutes. I mean, that gap hasn't grown as strongly as it did in the opening couple of laps, but he's still just chipping away casually. Last time around, another 0.5 second. We're going to get some updated lap times as he comes across the start-finish line. The only saving grace for him, for Overstreet behind now is that Tabino's coming up on some back markers. However, she will have to get past them too when she does reach them herself.
Yeah, you can see the lead there, Megan Street just in the background of the picture as Zhao comes around turn number 1. So 8.6 seconds is that lead, and Zhao is pretty much just carving his way through the traffic nice and neatly. You know, when you're one of the back markers, you see first place, you always seem to instinctively get out of the way as soon as you physically can do, rather than the rest of them. So Megan may have a bit more of a taller order to get through the field, but the good thing for Megan is now that she's managed to drop Pinheiro in 3rd place. You can see there 3.9 seconds is the gap to Megan Overstreet now. So pretty much she hasn't got any pressure from behind. It's all in front and whether she can close that gap. But, you know, Tabino has been, it's just driven this car to perfection every single lap, pulling out, as we're watching Jim Brewster here in 12th place, having a look at Montgomery, and I'm pretty sure he'll get the move done down the start finish straight, as it's a pure drag race, but we'll have that slipstream effect. Takes to the inside line and should have that all sewn up. So we see there Brewster managing to get past Montgomery for P11th in this race. Does have around about 4.6 seconds to Conti in 10th, and then a large gap to Andrew Love, who is the guy that he is chasing in that Masters class in P9 for the moment. But Reese, what has happened to Antonio Reese? He has Andrew Love behind him now for a lot of company, and he's got a little bit of challenge, whereas Antonio was well out in that Masters class, but has certainly fallen off a cliff in respect to speed, and Andrew Love has managed to hook up onto the back of Antonio Reese to give him a little bit of a challenge. As we say that, Andrew Love goes into the pits.
Yeah, I think that's going to have been a large part of it, where obviously Andrew Love running next to no fuel left in his car. Turning race is already stopping, so much heavier machine. That's just going to ease off the pressure. Even so, that's still looking really, really safe, really strong for a win in Masters for him. And Brewster has already stopped as well in terms of Masters. He's running in 9th, although he is 20 seconds behind Antonio Race. So he's looking good for another podium here in the championship. That's certainly going to do his championship aspirations some good, as well. Tabino's in. Overstreet follows in too. Pinheiro carries on. So does Green. Now, I mean, Tabino can afford to mess up his fueling a bit here, and he'll still come out comfortably in front of Overstreet. Although we do know from history that Overstreet does tend to play it conservative. Well, I say conservative, aggressive in terms of the amount of fuel that she puts into the car. God, excuse me.
Was it Megan last time that she crept over the line? I think it wasn't it, out in
She's
Mid-Ohio?
doing it again, Andy. Doing it again. A second and a half less of fuel compared to Yatabino. So, what has that done in terms of the gaps? Let's have a little look at that one. So, Overstreet's come out, what, 1.8 seconds in front of Soto, which is good, but Tabino's still, what, 8 seconds up the road? No, 6 seconds up the road. So, it has shrunk, hasn't it?
Yeah, 2 seconds taken out in that, but we saw this last time out in Mid-Ohio, you know, and I think it was Megan Overstreet that basically miscalculated the fuel, and that extra lap at the end of the race really, well, it didn't cost her a position, but cost her the opportunity to move up a position, lost a bit of, literally coasting over the line to secure the, I think it was 3rd place that she got in the end. But again, really aggressive on the fuel, literally taking it down to the milliliter of fuel. And, you know, it'd be interesting to see if it pays off for her today. But, I mean, it certainly paid off with the lap times. But the fact that Zhao was able to get near enough a 9-second lead in the early stint of this race, it's going to be a hard and tall order for Megan to be able to close that 6 seconds gap and try and pass when clearly Zhao has got the car dialed in for this race, and certainly is the one with the most amount of speed. Literally his fastest lap is about half a second faster than anyone else on the field, so certainly got that speed in reserve if he needs to use it.
See Pinero leading at the moment, although he is yet to stop. Neither is Green, who's tucked up half a second behind him. The only 2 drivers yet to enter pit road so far this race. Will they do it this time around? We'll get to find out very, very shortly as they race up towards pit road. The entrance to it, there we go. They're in from 1st and 2nd on track, but, well, even when they're accounted for, it's going to be Tabino resuming a lead of the race. But have they managed to take any time out of Overstreet? That's the crucial question. I think they're going to have done, Andy. I mean, it's looking at lap times, roundabouts. I think they could be in with a good shout here of maybe picking up... yeah, they're on pit exit, but Overstreet comes flying through. So has Soto done enough? Yes, he has. So actually scrap that. They're all going to come back out in the order that they went into the pits in before anyone started taking pit stop. Well, exception of Antonio Rice, who's been the biggest loser out of all of this.
Yeah, it definitely is. That undercut did not work at all. He is trying to get back. He's managed to get back up to McDonald in 6th place. McDonald has pitted, but he is certainly the biggest loser in the round of pits. And it's always interesting how people come up with their pit strategies and how they want to do it, and it's almost like a race in itself, isn't it? You know, you got the qualifying session, which is certainly one race, and then you get to the race and you can be completely different speed. Then you've got the first half of the race, then you've got the round of pit stops that always throws in a spanner to somebody's day, and then you've got the last half of the race here. So we've only got 8 minutes left of this race to go. Antonio Reis, who was in the top 3, now finds himself in P7, so certainly the biggest loser out of the round of the pit stops. But, you know, crucially for him, it's still #1 position in that master class. So it's not all doom and gloom for Antonio Reis, and will be extending his lead in that Masters Championship with Jorg Marni out of this race. So it's only win-win for Antonio Reis, but probably be a little bit disappointed as we watch here as Green takes Pinero coming down into turn #1. So that is a position change for class, and Green takes that 4th place, 3rd place in the S1 over Pinero in 5th place.
So now everyone's taken their stop. 7 minutes left on the clock here from Summit Point Raceway in round 8 of the championship. Can you believe it? Already 8 weeks complete. Tabino leads by 6.5 seconds over Street. Still pulling away is the Brazilian as well. Soto occupying that last position on the podium overall in third, and also leading Spec 2. Green fourth, but on the podium, and it's going to have a big fight. This is just seeing there Benjamin Harris scrapping away with Sander Verbruge, who's been dramatically improved, this driver has Verbruge. Remember the first race, just really struggled, but it's come on absolutely leaps and bounds.
Definitely is. Went a little bit too deep there into the first corner that gave Montgomery the opportunity, Harris the opportunity to just dive up the inside of Bruges. But still a good day at the office. Currently fourth in S2 is Verbruge, and does have the opportunity to get the podium position in that S2 class if he can able to overcome Benjamin Harris, who is probably doing a bit like his picture is in his profile there, of just putting his head down and trying to keep ahead of Verbruge in that 11th place. But Verbruge has the opportunity here to come back straight away at Harris down the start-finish back. So as we look back from Benjamin Harris's car, there's a bit of a poor exit there from Verbruge coming out of that turn number 10. Don't think he's going to have the opportunity to look here in this lap down into turn number 1. He is closing the gap, but not enough to make a move into the first corner. So it's status quo here. Time is drastically running out for these two drivers. Currently 5 minutes left, so around about 4 laps of this race to go. Looking further back up, and Green is now putting down the hammer, 2 seconds behind Joshua Soto in third place, our current top S2 driver. And it's good that Joshua's had a good round here. You know, Mid-Ohio, he had an excellent round in the qualifying, stuck it on first place overall in the field, the first S2 driver to do that. And it's good to see him having a good race here. Started in 6th place up to 3rd, and certainly our top S2 driver at the moment, and currently out there 2 seconds is the gap between himself and Jason Green in 4th place. So has Jason Green got enough time to close down that 2-second gap to Soto in front?
Not sure he has, and also you need to consider just how close Leandro Pinheiro is behind him at 7/10, and that's ultimately a battle for the last place on the podium in class, as there's Stevie Ray around, avoiding everyone as he gets going again. But it's tough day at the office, although even the shout still official on the podium in class at 3rd in Masters right now, and looking very comfortable there. In fact, Andrew Love's been in the pits for quite a while, so that's looking comfortable despite that spin for Ray. Let's just see, Bruce is running 2nd in class. That's Montgomery behind him. 9th and 10th, these two respectively overall right now. Montgomery running, 3rd in class behind McConnell, and just having a bit of a look actually at Montgomery. Yeah, second last time out, 3rd today.
Oh, what's happened to Andrew Love? He's literally not come out of the pits from earlier on, where we saw him dart in as he was chasing Antonio Reyes down. So clearly had some sort of hardware issue is Andrew Love, and he's literally, I think he's up to 4.5 minutes. He's going for the longest pit stop here. Jorgmani's currently winning out on 4 minutes 54 seconds, and he's currently sat on 4 minutes 12. So Andrew Love going for the longest pit stop in Summit Point for round number 8.
Sounds like the sort of strategy I would go for in terms of actually being able to win something, Andy.
Exactly.
Much of a chance than anything else. So right on board with Leandro Pinheiro right now, as Jason Green just in front of us. Both of them looking a little bit treacherous in these latter stages of the race. 2.5 minutes left on the clock here from Summit Point. Green misses the apex. Is this the Brazilian's time to shine? Has he got the run on him? Well, he's closing. That gap is shrinking. Are we going to have a lunge into turn 1? Backs out of it, interestingly. Was not expecting that one.
No, it wasn't. I mean, Green completely messed up turn number 9 and 10 that gave Pinero the opportunity and has gone wide here into turn number 1. So Green really struggling under the tyres, and I'm quite surprised that Pinero didn't make the opportunity pake into turn number 1, but has. It's very unusual considering they've literally got less than 2 minutes now of this race. So 2 laps this and one more to go, but you can see Green literally sliding all over there. I think his tyres
Soto's
must
gone.
be so
Soto's
fast.
gone. That must have been Josh Soto.
Oh,
It was. Well,
what
still
happened
looking
there?
good for the
Turn number
win in
5.
class, though, Andy, but he's lost them all by himself.
As coming down into the treacherous turn number 5, literally, you can see there where I said to lining it up for turn number 4, he literally got it completely wrong coming through the exit of turn number 4, got out really wide into turn 5 and then was completely offline trying to brake and unfortunately spun the car around. So this Summit Point track, even though it's like one of the tracks we always begin on, it is a really treacherous and tricky track. And a lot of the drivers are coming. I mean, we can see some of the big names that have gone as we join back up with a battle here with Green and Pinero. Pinero's just literally got one more lap to do it. So this is going to see if what I was saying at the start is a viable option of if Pinero can keep close to Jason Green here coming out of turn number 9. Is he going to be able to get the slipstream? But look at this, look how much slide is going on with Jason Green's car here. I mean, we saw the previous lap that we were watching these two drivers is that Green got it completely wrong out of turn number 9 and through turn number 10. If he's going to be in with a chance of keeping that third place in the podium spot, he's really got to hook up. Look how much he's sliding out there. Pinero getting a really good exit and nice tight line, so his tyres are extremely working well for him, and it's going to be interesting now coming through turn number 9. Can he keep it right behind Jason Green's car? But looking at the front of the field, there's only going to be one winner here today, Tim, wouldn't there? Joe Tobino coming over the line literally well before it and doing a nice little snake in action.
As you see in the background there, Green's going to hold on to this one, which amazed me. There was no lunge into turn 1 on that final lap as Soto holds on to 5th, Racer just closing up in his last stages. But yeah, no lunge into turn 1 from Pinero on Green. I think that was his missed opportunity there. Shame for him, but still 4th overall. This is Alan DeGassis is going to come along 5th in Class 8 overall. Soto picks up the win in Spec 2, Race the winner in Masters. McConnell, 2nd in Spec 2. Montgomery's going to pick up that last podium place. Jim Brewster right up behind him. He's going to be 2nd in Masters. It's looking like Stevie Ray, he's already crossed the line, so he's going to pick up the last podium spot in the Masters class. And just looking at my stats here, Overstreet has finished on the podium in every single round so far this season.
Consistent. I bet Stevie Ray's shocked that he actually got 3rd place in the Masters as well, because he literally has probably had one of the worst races I've seen in race and still managing to pick up a podium.
Yeah, it was a cracking result for him. All things considered, here's some Class 5 results for you from round 8 from some point. Tobino with the victory, comfortable in the end over Megan Overstreet in 2nd. As said, the lowest position she's finished all season long was 3rd. She's only managed that once. Jason Green rounds out the podium. Then it's Leandro Pinero. Josh Soto wins Spec 2, 5th overall. Antonio Rice, 6th overall, your winner in Masters. Then it's McConnell, 2nd in Spec 2, 7th overall. DeGassis 8th. Montgomery ran out that Spec 2 podium in 9th. Jim Brewster rounds out the top 10 on 2nd in Masters. Then we've got Bruges, Kramer in the end up 13 places into 2nd. Just Benini 13th, then Steno, Harris, Stevie Ray, 16th overall. The first driver 1 lap down, but picks up that Masters podium spot. Bruno Conte and Tom Lorry takes you up into 18th place, with 19th being Philip Fernandez, and then Andrew Love 20th in the first of the retirements. We lost Love on lap 24, Marnie on lap 12, Bradshaw lap 10, lap 7 for Gary Walbolt, Lorio lap 2, Jacobson lap 1, and well, Human and Poulin did not make the start. Let's have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers. First off, let's have a quick chat to Megan Overstreet. A second here today, and well, as I was saying, your lowest position is third all season, and that was only once having managed that one. But today, I mean, yeah, it just looked like in a complete and utter different class.
Yeah, well, actually, I had a 4th place last week at Mid-Ohio,
Did you?
but
Okay, I've got my
yeah.
stats. I've got my stats wrong then, because I've got you down in second. So there we go. That's my mistake. But anyway, I mean, yeah, I mean, different class. I mean, did you? Was it just a case of just managing the race and trying to guarantee the second, or do you think you might have been able to stay with them if Jorg Marni hadn't have had that spin on lap one, and that's what just seemed to break you up and allow him to have the jump on everyone else at that early stage?
Exactly, with him, getting away right on out of turn 1, not having that draft, I was just not able to catch back up because we started racing just a little bit there as well, so we were losing more time, and before I knew it, we were fighting for 2nd. That was the best we could do.
Well, it worked out an absolute treat in the end. I mean, you saw Antonio race pit very early. Were you tempted to maybe alter your strategy and go a bit earlier like he was? I mean, I mean, we could see from the commentary at least Jorg was setting some electric times, actually going faster than what Yao was. But so, were you tempted to follow him and go early, or were you just sticking to your guns of going late?
I was sticking to my guns for going late since I had a full fuel load in my car.
Well, it worked out in the end. Finished second. Congratulations. That is Megan Overstreet. Andy, who have you managed to grab for a chat?
Well, let's have a look at the man of the hour last week to man who struggled a little bit. Antonio, welcome to the booth, mate. A bit of a hard day at the office. Just take us through that early pit stop in your mindset because you were right at the front of the race, battling out with Megan and Joshua there at the front. What made you go in early?
Yeah, I was trying to avoid the traffic. I was afraid to get some accident. There was everybody was close and passing, and was some risking stuff. And then I was trying to be safe in safe area, but I lost some time. But
Was that due to back markers?
no. When I was on the race on the front, when I was on the lead group, I was afraid that because everybody was so close and was so tight, then I was a little bit afraid of something happen, the cars, maybe some accident or something. Then I decided to pit earlier to avoid that traffic problem, kind of stuff. That's why
I suppose
yeah, say please.
I suppose looking at it, looking at the Masters Championship overall, that's one eye on the prize for you. And being that you were the top Master driver with Jorg going out very early on, I suppose you had one eye on the Masters Championship overall.
Yeah. I always have an eye on that. Even it's better to win the overall or fighting with everyone, regard of the class we are, masters or S2 or S1. But yeah, I keep an eye on that as well.
I suppose looking at it, I don't know if you were keeping an eye on it. It seemed to be all your competitors were falling by the wayside. We lost Andrew Love, Jorg Marni, and Adam Bradshaw earlier on in the race. There was only really 3 drivers left from the Masters class. Why do you think that was? I mean, seems to be an extremely tricky track to Summit Point in these cars. Just talk us through how tricky the track is to master in these Formula Fords.
Yeah, it's a bit stressful. It's very unforgiving, and then we have to keep very focus, concentration, and kind of a track like that for me. At least for me, I don't know what other guys think, but for me it seems to appear like that. A very unforgiving track and very concentrating. You need to really focus to do not mistakes. There is a lot of bumps and you have to keep your line. You cannot go out of the ideal line, and then if you do a mistake or you brake late or something, then you can hit another car or you can just crash.
Yeah, definitely understand what you're saying. Congratulations,
Thank you.
Antonio, on your 6th place overall and extending your lead in the Masters Championship. So
Thank
look
you,
forward
guys.
to round number 9.
Yeah, thank you guys for covering, and all the best for you and for everyone.
Cheers, Antonio. And
Cheers.
Tim, that's Antonio. Anybody you got stood by?
Yeah, we've got just enough time to squeeze in Jim Brewster. Jim, congratulations on the podium.
Thank you.
On the podium again this season.
Hey, this is home track, but unfortunately, it's everybody's home track. Everybody in iRacing, Summit Point is their home track. So for us locals, it doesn't get to help very much. But yeah, had a really good start and got a nice gap. And then, unfortunately, Adam spun in turn 5, and as I was going around him, he just clipped my rear wheel and bent my suspension. So I pit early, so I went conservative and put too much gas in. But still, Chris and I don't know if you saw, Chris and I had a real hammers and tongs the last 2 laps. We practiced a lot together, and we had a really good race together. Chris is a good racer. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we caught your race to the line. Nearly pipped him, but wasn't quite enough. Just over a 10th in the end. Just talks about being in the midfield, what it was like out there today, because it seemed like you were pretty much for the first 2 or 3 corners, everyone was still side by side.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Not too bad. Jorg spun off there, and then we were all sort of spaced out. And then I think there was about 9 of us in the front, or 8 or 9 of us in the front. And we had a nice gap. And like I said, I could have stayed. We would have kept that gap, except for, like I said, Adam was a lapper and he spun in 5. And that sort of brought a couple groups together. And then my funky pit, that's what got me with Chris. So it was fun, though, because Chris pushed hard and behind. Then he made one mistake, and I got in front of him. So he and I really pushed each other hard. We were doing really good laps the last half of the race. So it was a good deal. Yeah, it was another nice day at Summit Point.
Definitely. Well, congratulations, Jim. 3rd place in Masters here.
Very good.
Summit Point. Well, that's all we've got time for here. The first of 2 parts of Super Sunday here on Apex Racing TV. Formula Ford, that's done and dusted. Now we head across, of course, into the SRS. That's coming about 40 minutes on the channel. Make sure you join us for that one from Charlotte, but from the south, Tim Cox, Andy Thompson, and Lisa Raya. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week when we head across to... Oh, I've messed up here. I didn't have that info in front of me. Interlagos. Oh, that's going to be a cracker, isn't it? We'll see you in a week's time from Interlagos.